Righto. It says recording in progress. So here we go. We're live. We're away again. We're just a bunch of TASA people, TASA, all capital letters, Terra, Australis State Assembly, State, what is it?
Terra Australis States Assembly, and it's TERRA.
Yeah, it's Terra Australis. It doesn't come across that way sometimes, but that's what we are. We're Terra Australis State Nationals. We're back here again every Saturday. We small group of us get together and we discuss goodness knows what, and goodness knows what today is going to be Teresa, and I'll get Sarah. Do you want to introduce Teresa and what she's all about, so that we'll
Oh,
kick off that?
what she's all about could take forever.
Oh,
I've known Teresa for quite a while. We connected in person last year and in Queensland when Queensland did their Queensland retreat. And I think Teresa and I had hit it off prior to that, but that sort of just cemented things a bit. She and Fiona, another woman on Queensland, have started up their own business recently, but Teresa, quite a while back, I think, Therese, in your journey with TASA, you decided to give the old heave-ho to the education system that we've all kind of grown to know and distrust, and started off branching out on your own. And I'm fairly sure you run a pretty successful podcast, or were running a very successful podcast around the world. You were dealing with people on other countries with TASA, so other state nationals on America and Germany and places like that, talking about how we can possibly reimagine schooling and education or knowledge sharing amongst our young people, and something about teaching people how to look at propaganda and see it for what it is, which really interests me because I think a lot of us would actually get some tips from that. So in short, Teresa's, she's a great girl, lots of fun, always have a laugh with her. And yeah, that's Teresa.
there you go. Well, thanks, Sarah. So, do you still do that podcast, Teresa? Is it
I
still
do, I do. That's why I just put this on here because this is my logo and that's my podcast, All Learning Reimagined. And I
okay?
created it for a hobby because it's like, I didn't want to watch Netflix and I don't like to waste time. And then I thought I've got all of this knowledge and passion that I love to share, and I love to talk. So, win-win. So when I looked for a platform, I found one by two men who are very heart-centered humanitarians, and they don't have any censorship on their station, and they broadcast to 48 different countries. So that was quite appealing to me. Yeah, so it's been going for well over a year now.
Oh, okay. I didn't know anything about that. Why was I left? Why have I been left uninformed?
It's not the
Well,
first
I'm not
time.
very good at self-promotion. I just like to get on and I love having the conversation and interviewing people and sharing and creating, but I like just having the conversation so I believe, well, I don't believe, I know that it creates. So all of our conversation creates, it's in the field. And I comprehend that my harmonics often activates people. It's a catalyst for people, and helps them remember things. So that's why I do it. But I don't do it for money. I don't do it. I don't want people to know who I am. I quite like my privacy. But I'm very passionate about our children and the fact that we have been lied to, and we really need to reimagine everything, adults as well. And so the topics that are on each week really align to all of the conversations that you have here. It's fantastic. And I'm just finishing up a series I created on embodied intelligence, which is the intelligence of the nervous system and the fascia, and how that helps you know yourself and also helps you navigate with your discernment and making decisions, and the memory and pulling in the ancient wisdom and the natural and universal law, and how that all fits into that as well. Because I love to look at all of the traditional learnings and the wisdom at the same time. So yeah, it's great. It's great fun.
Because
Okay, so what you're saying there, apart from our normal memory, which mine's not all that good these days, we have what, cellular memory, or we remember stuff from past lives, or can you just go into that a bit, because I'm a bit interested in that. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay, well, I like to talk from direct experience. I don't like to, since I've since I've awoken and gone down so many holes. I was in Middle Earth for quite a while. I've come up for air now, and so now I only really talk from direct experience. If I haven't lived it or know someone directly that I've physically seen that has lived it, then I sort of park it to the side, because our brains can lie to us. So when we're thinking of memory, and this ties in with learning all of the time, our traditional education system we currently have is all about intellect and the brain and learning and that sort of memory. We sort of have the neuroscience pushed really hard, and what they're forgetting is that we are multidimensional. So we do have lifetime memories of other lifetimes. Some of us. Some people get snippets of it and then dismiss it as imagination or say, "Oh, that must be a dream." However, there's just so much more to it. So there's the multidimensional side of it, but the series that I've just done with the fascia is lots of people don't really comprehend what fascia is. They seem to think it's all through your body. It's around all of your organs. It's around your bones, and I feel that the fascia actually holds a lot of memory. So it's not just the nervous system with trauma or lived experience. And quite often you can say intellectually, I comprehend that for example, I comprehend that I'm safe, but I can smell something and it's triggering something in my body that's a memory. And you may not even know what it is. So your body is communicating with you constantly. It's just, do we listen? And so we need to embed that into learning. Sorry, Sarah, I know you're chomping at the bit.
I just
Did you
want
notice?
I just want to verify. For those that don't know, I just want to verify fascia. It's this stuff that like wobbles, isn't it? It's the stuff like,
Yeah,
this you can see on the screen, people. It's this stuff that moves when you rub. And that's where all, and correct me if I'm wrong, because this has interested me too, but I haven't gone into it deeply. I've kind of skated across the top. And I know Susie that we have on sometimes, she talks a lot about lymph. But the lymph and the fascia and the nervous system are all kind of interlinked together. And that's where when they say that, we hold memories for 9 generations. But a really good example of what you're talking about, Teresa, is I was many years ago, so I'm Victoria. Many years ago, I was on a bar deck in Alice Springs at the casino. And at the time, because Alice Springs was populated a lot by Victorians and West Australians. And we're all sitting there, and it was sort of a bit after 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Nothing major changed, but all of a sudden there was like this ripple went across the people. It's probably about 150 people. They're just casually having drinks. There's no big deal. But there was a ripple, and all of a sudden, all these little heads went up like meerkats everywhere, like this. And I was sitting there at the table, and there was another Victorian sitting across from me, and we had a Queenslander and a couple of WA people and whatever. And then there were people at the table next to us, and there was someone over there, and we all kind of looked at each other. And I looked at my watch and I said, "It's just after 4 o'clock. The wind's changed." Because in Victoria, 4 o'clock on a really hot day, when the wind changes, you start to look for where the smoke is because that's your danger time, and that's where when the wind changes, the fire, if there's bushfires, that's when the bushfires are going to start sweeping across. So that wind change, and when I said it to these other guys and they overheard and they went, "Oh, that's what it is," and we all calmed down because there was no smoke and there was no fire. But that wind change, we'd all picked up on that, not consciously, but we'd felt it. So you're right, we inherently know stuff, and we sort of take it on, and we educate ourselves, I suppose, or take on the knowledge, and then we remember that. So I
the
think
body remembers it.
it's
And
absolutely
so
does.
it really annoys me that in the education system today, it's all about the mind and what you can intellectually prove, or your memory, and yet that's becoming obsolete with AI today, because you can get, at the touch of a button, you can get answers to anything. But the lived experience and the memory and the actual doing and the applying of it is a completely different field. So the nervous system, and if you don't feel safe and you're in that fight or flight, you're not going to learn. Your brain is going to be compromised, but your body is absorbing the whole thing. So it has to be part of the process. And the multidimensional side of us, I mean, even my harmonics right now, I am speaking, and that's my home signal. So I feel quite safe when I'm speaking, because it's my own frequency that I'm listening to. And yet how many children or adults or people who are learning don't speak? Everything is thought. You know, you're thinking things constantly, but they're not speaking it out loud, which is at a creational level, vibration, frequency. All of this has resonance around how we learn and how we actually embody the learning. So you can know something intellectually, but until you've physically done it and embodied it, that's not really deep. That's the wisdom, I feel. And that's where our Aborigines and our Indigenous cultures really had it right. They really knew what they were doing with their knowledge transference, because they had to live the experience, not just telling them, they had to show it and do it. So I'm so passionate about this stuff. There's just so much that we have been told. And I'm so in tune with my own body now. My bullshit meter's pretty good. As soon as I hear something, I know it's off. And it might be true for that man or woman who's sharing it, but for me, it's like, no, not resonating, sorry. Either we're on a different timeline, a different frequency, or it's crap. So, because sometimes people are telling you something and you go, I know this is not true. Yeah. Even if I don't know, I know that there's something off. I can feel it, because your body and your antenna, because your body is like an antenna, my biofield is reading the energy. And this is part of reshaping how we go moving forward.
I just want to go back to something you said there that sort of tweaked something in my head too, when you said that, you know, we are taught to not use our voice. We're taught to listen and to kind of internalize everything. And that kind of goes hand in hand. And we know that, you know, over the years and the decades and the centuries, you know, mankind or humankind or, you know, living men and women have been suppressed systematically in many, many, many different ways. But that whole saying of children should be seen and not heard. And we know that kids have got this great imagination, and we know that kids are very in tune because they haven't had as long to have it suppressed out of them. And, you know, they believe and they know who they are. But this whole shut up and be quiet and don't use your voice, it's again, it's a different way of taking people's power away from them, isn't it? And right from childhood, because your imagination is it's your step to the rest of the universe and the galaxy. That's the way that we talk. I'm not phrasing this properly, but we need our imagination, and people who dismiss things as imagination, your imagination is vital. It's how your human self, this flesh and blood thing, makes sense of the galaxy out there. And it's how we talk to our higher selves. It's how we talk to the intergalactics. It's all that sort of stuff. It's through our imagination. So it's not something to be dismissed, and it's not something to be gotten rid of. So I was just, when you said that, because we collectively as a society have been kind of promoting this, you know, children should be seen and not heard. Children don't know what they're talking about. Children, I think, sometimes are the smartest people in the room.
Oh, yeah. We just need to help them with the conditions and then allow them to bloom and follow their own interests. There's so much that when I really had an aha moment, a realization, was when I realized that I had spent decades imposing my belief system on children. And I sobbed for hours. I just sobbed. I just felt so bad because I didn't know. But, you know, when you know better, you do better. And it was like, how can I have not seen this? I was stepping all over their sovereignty, and not really realizing it. And it's really quite difficult when you're in the system. I tried to shift the system within. You know, I really believe in relationships. As you think about real estate is location, location, location. Well, learning is about relationships, relationships, relationships. And that's relationships with self, relationships with others. Community is everything. Um, your heart, of course, but also nature, the unified field, the elements. We have to have these relationships. And this is the issue that I'm seeing today is the disconnect. And I really feel technology has been part of that agenda to disconnect from your own spiritual self. People say spirit today and they go, oh, you're talking woo-woo. No, I'm not. It's an aspect of me. It's an aspect of you. It's just been weaponized, really. And Sarah, when you were talking before, we have so many different senses, not just the five senses that we've been programmed to believe. So, you know, sounds and smells and feelings. I've clocked 15 senses. I actually did a podcast on a show on the senses, the different types of senses that are normal. And telepathy being one of them. And most people go, oh, you know, telepathy is just in a movie. Well, no. How often have you said the same thing or been on the same wavelength as someone else? They've finished your sentence, or you thought of someone and then they've rung you. We all have it. It's just that we've been taught or trained to ignore it, or not tune into it. But children naturally have it until we indoctrinate them out of it.
Yeah.
So, and this is, and when I started realizing this, I thought, I'm part of the problem. And yeah, I resigned from a very high position in a government school, very successful job. And I loved that job. I'm passionate about children. I love learning. I love people. But then I realized I was part of the problem. So I was like, what can I do?
Yeah.
And after COVID, I just couldn't be part of it. I thought I do not want anything to do with this energy. And I just resigned and walked away and went, okay, what can I do? What can I do? And I've been networking globally ever since and working on many different education projects to try and be part of the solution, which eventually led me to TASA. Because I was looking for a very simple solution where we could come together as a community, comprehend that everyone has their own perspectives, everyone has their own beliefs. No one has the right to tell you. You have to feel your own way. That's what self-governance is. I'm not telling you guys anything you don't already know, but this is not discussed in the mainstream schooling setting. And so I've been creating resources to try and help teachers who are awakening and going, what do I do? Parents who are awakening and going, how do I navigate this system when I cannot homeschool because they have to work to survive? What can they do? So I'm like, okay, well, I've got a lot of knowledge here. I can create activities. I can create resources. My podcast is only 30 minutes long because that's pretty much all a busy parent or a teacher can digest. You can put it on in the car when you're traveling over the bridge or whatever. In small chunks, we grow through increments. And every single week, whatever the topic is, I will write an article and I will create activities or a micro practice or something that you can embed in every day. It's all free. It's all on the website that's linked to the podcast. Anyone can go, they can email me, and they can download it, take it, use it, adapt it, share it. That's what it's there for.
Okay.
Because we're all in this together.
You've given yourself a big job there. That all takes a fair bit of time, Teresa.
This is fine.
There's no place for what you're teaching in the school system today, eh? It's completely foreign to.
Yet, it's coming.
It's coming, yes.
It depends which school system you're talking about. There's a few out there.
There's a lot out there that's great.
They're starting to push the boundaries a little bit. And there's a lot of homeschooling groups as well that have come into play since COVID, I suppose. I mean, they were active beforehand, but they've become more so now. So there are a lot more avenues for the kind of stuff. And I think there's a lot more awake teachers who are trying to kind of sneak things in under the radar. So, I mean, I can think of one here in Bairnsdale, and she loves what she does. She loves teaching. She loves all of that sort of stuff. But she's, and she said it's a constant battle trying to wake people up, but stay under the radar with it too. So you would have those, or would understand those frustrations, Teresa.
It's tricky, but
Yeah.
the thing that I found was that your attention is your choice, and attention is your superpower. So where I can put my attention on the doom and gloom, and I tried to change the system from within the system, and I burnt out really badly.
Yeah.
It was just too full of parasitic energy, and I just couldn't survive there. So when I got out of there and then started going, okay, what can I do to be part of the solution? Because I used to say for years, someone should do something about this. And I was like, actually, maybe I should get off my ass.
Yeah, that's right. Who's this somebody that's going to do something about it? That's
and
you.
I've got friends that, they'll say, oh, what did you do on the weekend? I watched this whole Netflix series. I'm like, great. I wrote several podcasts and a couple of articles, and I networked, and I've created here's a 500-word document that I'm working on with internationally with other state nationals. It's a resource that we're in editing phases called the Living Learning Guide. And this is going to be shared with anyone in the world that wants it as a resource to help them with their schooling. This is what I do on my weekends.
How many of those friends have you got left, Teresa?
How many?
How many of those friends have you got left, or do they just look at you and go, okay?
Oh no, lots of different. I've got lots of friends from all walks of life, and some of them we don't see very often, but when we do, it's like we met yesterday. It depends on what timeline I'm on. You know how you like shift in the timelines, and I haven't seen you for ages, and then all of a sudden you run into them 3 times in a day, and you're like,
yeah.
So I don't know. It's just fun. I don't want to look back and go, I wasted my time and my life. Now we are creator beings. It's the time to step up and create. And I choose to put my attention on what we are building. And I find that I'm attracting all of these people who are doing the same thing, that are heart-centered, just like my logo, heart-centered, question things with the question mark, going back to nature in the natural way. That's what it's all about. And if we can't sit back and have that waiting energy of someone's going to come and save us. The victim mindset and the waiting and the waiting and the waiting is part of the problem. And so I realized that was me. And so I started educating myself and relearning, and I'm a work in progress. I've got a big fat L plate. My learning curve is like this, but geez whiz, it's fun. It's fantastic.
Yeah, too many people sitting back waiting for somebody to come and save them, I think, and that's a little bit victim mentality there, like I'm hurt, come and save me. And that doesn't work really.
Thank you, Disney, because that's what all the fairy tales and Disney, that's the programming that's kicking in. And that's where the brain is getting in the way, because the repetition and the brain can trick you, and your mind will only focus on what it believes it sees. That's the thing, is the perspective. Everyone's seeing from their own perspective rather than opening to say, well, there could be more, and starting to question. And your body, in my opinion, is the key, because it is constantly letting you know. When you light up, you get goosebumps, you feel heat, something happens in your body, and you're like, oh, there's something in this. What is that? Sometimes you ignore it. I've been ignoring it for years. I don't anymore. I always go, okay, there's something in that for me. I don't know what it is yet. I need to come back. And it's just amazing how the synchronicities will line up when this sort of happens. But when you're stepping up as a creator being and choosing to, even having conversations like this today, is having a massive impact in the field, because we're all putting our attention and our intention out there. Who knows who's going to listen to this? Hello, whoever you are. We love you. But my question to you is, what are you doing? What are you doing in your little patch of land, and it doesn't have to be major, but it's just having a conversation, listening to someone, shifting perspectives, doing some research. And research is means again, search means to go and actually search for something. Google is not research. That's just searching. And this is
Yeah,
the conversation I have with high school students.
damn, I
Google,
thought I was a
not researching,
researcher.
you research. That means you have to go back and find another source from another place and see if you can. And if those sources are all owned by the one company,
Yeah.
that is not research.
No.
I
So
will
those
say,
conversations are really worth having.
I think you're absolutely right. And I do think I remember a time when I was in high school. So if there's any parents of high school kids out there, sometimes I was told in a literature class, we were studying Sylvia Plath, and we're given a poem, and we were told, go and research this, go and have a look at it, study it, and think about what other alternatives she might have wanted to convey with this poem. Now, Sylvia Plath, for those that don't know, she's all a bit doom and gloom, and she ended up topping herself. But we went away, and there was another guy and I, and we partnered up. And we went, all right, let's have a look at this. And we came back with a very different sort of thing, and we're told, no, it was wrong. And we're like, well, hang on, you asked us to come up with a different theory, a different possibility. We've come up with a different possibility, and we're told no because it doesn't fit what you want us to find, because they wanted us to find a slight variation on what everyone had already assumed. And that's the kind of research they want you to do, is to basically take the same information, change a few sentences, and then present it as, oh, I've just newly thought of this, which is it's bunk. There's no way that schools are telling people how to learn. They're not. They're telling people how to go and copy other people's learning and findings and research. But you're right, Teresa. Teresa, you've got to go and actually look and search and put different things together and come up with something different and go, oh, could that be the way it is? It might be, it might not be, but I think part of the process is teaching your brain that it is a tool of you. You're not a tool of it, first of all. It's something that you can use, but then obviously open up, as Teresa said. You've got, I think I counted, Teresa, once, it was like 27, because I was doing some research on it. Like, I was looking at all these different things, 27 different senses, but clock it yourself. We call one of the things that we forget or we don't know is that the first thing that's built is our heart. And when we're, as a fetus, the first thing that is built is our heart. And it's built of the same stuff that our brain cells are built with. Like, it's literally the same. And then in our gut, what lines our gut are the same neurons that are in our brain. So when we're talking about our gut, and people say, oh, it doesn't feel right, my gut doesn't feel right, your gut's actually right on the money, because it's thinking and it's feeling and it's giving you information, but people ignore it. And they've just found out, like we know now, we've got the vagus nerve, and then there's something else that I researched or saw the other week. And there's another whole organ that doctors and everyone they've completely stopped teaching about it. They don't know about it. No one knows about it. And it literally sits in behind your gut. And it is that organ that kind of, we talk about our spidey sense and things aren't quite right, and the hairs rise on the back of your neck. That comes from that organ that's saying, hey, beware, there's something a bit odd here. We have been taught to dumb ourselves down so much and to ignore so much of who and what we are, as some people are calling us homo luminous, because we are becoming light beings. It's If you really thought about, if someone was fully embodied and able to use all those 27 senses, like, holy moly, that would be an amazing being. And they're teaching kids now over in the States, and you've probably across this, Teresa, that teaching them, how to read like cards and use telepathy with their eyes shut, and they can read books and stuff like that. None of this is new, but it's becoming more mainstream and it's becoming more accepted now. Whereas for years they've been doing it in Russia and South America and weird places like that, and it was all just dismissed as kind of urban legend. It's not, it's real. And we really need to start paying more attention to what we can actually do. And don't anyone out there, just if you're watching thinking, oh, well, I'm not a teenager or a kid anymore, so I can't do it. That's not true either. That's something else that we've all got to get past, is this whole idea that we're supposed to die at 85 or 90 or whatever. That's patently not true. Wayne will tell you that. He's still really, really fit, healthy, doing extremely well for someone.
95.
Good on you, Wayne.
We're not going that far. I'm aiming for more than that, Alan. But yeah, you were talking there before, Sarah, about your gut and your brain and everything. We shouldn't ignore those what we call gut feelings, eh? Like, they really mean something, and I've had them my whole life, and it's not that long ago that I worked out that there's some truth there. I'd have a feeling. Well, the name is claircognizance, I think, which I've got a job to say, and I can't even spell it, but there you go. And I would know stuff, but if you ask me to explain it, you've got to be careful that you don't just blurt it out, because my subconscious has arrived at a conclusion, but it hasn't given me all the points in between. It doesn't give me the bits of information about how it got there, which could be looking at somebody's body language and noticing other stuff about people, which we do without knowing. So my subconscious says, hey, he's lying. And I'm thinking, yeah, he's lying, all right, but I don't know how I know that. I just know it. So, yeah, I've had that my whole life. And sometimes it's not about sometimes you just know. I get these feelings that I know, and it's you really feel it. You can feel it. I don't know how I know, but I know. So I don't generally blurt it out, but I live my life accordingly now, and that works for me. And the other thing, Teresa, that you were talking about is early on was knowing. Now, I read self-help books. I've been reading them since I was early 20s, probably, and I'd pick up another self-help book from another author, and I'd be flicking through it, and there's something similar. It's, I already know that. I've wasted my money buying that book. And I'd been doing that for 20 years before I realised that I didn't actually know it. I recognised the information when it came in front of me again, but I hadn't actually integrated it into my life. And I think that's what you're talking about, Teresa, is actually knowing. You've integrated into your life and you know it and you feel it. So you can read all that shit and it could be a waste of time, or you can read it and integrate the stuff that resonates with you and you'll get somewhere. But yeah, interesting, very interesting. And I'll just take 30 seconds to welcome Sue. Sue, I let you in here 3 times before you decided to stay. What happened? You came in once and then you left. Was there something that upset you, or?
Hello, everyone. No, I'm just having some technical difficulties. As you can see, I seem to be blacked out partially. And yes, the gremlins in the system today, I think. So I may drop out again. Who knows?
Anyway, you're there. You're a presence in the corner there, and I know you're there, so that's good.
Thank you. Good. Okay. Just enjoying listening to Teresa and all her wonderful information. I love the podcast you do, Teresa, but 6 o'clock in the morning or 6:30 is a bit early for me to get up and every Saturday and get onto it.
That's why I like the archive, because you can listen to the archives anytime.
Just quickly, because I know, Teresa, you've got to leave in about 20 minutes. So before you have to dash off, just where can people find your podcast or get in touch with you, or if they're like a homeschooling mum or someone like that, or someone out there in TASA who's going, oh my God, my kids are just being so indoctrinated, and how do I defeat that? So how can people get in touch with you? And if you can flick all your details through to me, I'll make sure that we put them in the description under the chat today. But if you can tell people.
Okay. Well, All Learning Reimagined. So it's on BBS Radio. So BBS Radio / All Learning Reimagined. And I'll give you the link for that, and that'll take you straight to the BBS Radio to my All Learning Reimagined homepage, and that's where all of the archive shows are on every topic you can possibly imagine. And I've interviewed, so talking about places in the world, I've interviewed forest schools, people who are connected to the Shatinian schools in Russia with the Anastasia books. Like I've interviewed lots of different men and women, and some of them would say they're ordinary people. No, they are way showers, and just homeschoolers and people who are just doing amazing things. So it's not all doom and gloom out there. There is a way. And then all the articles are archived as well. So if have at it, I say. And then that's the same with the guide. So the living learning guide that I'm communicating with, they can email me through that site, and we're still in editing phases, but it's about 500 pages long. We're not planning on charging any money. It will just be we've created it from our hearts to everyone else's hearts for a resource for the world, basically. That's the intention. And people can email me on All Learning Reimagined at PM which is on Proton Mail. That's emailing me directly. And recently at our Capricornia community, we had a community day. I did do a talk for parents on how to navigate the system at the moment. So if you cannot homeschool, and what can you do? There are lots of things you can do. And I ended up creating, I've got one here somewhere, like a handout with little mini things that you can do right now. And it's just how you embed it into your day with having that connection with your children. And it doesn't have to be young children, it can be teenagers as well. Very easy. And all of these resources are on that site as well. So I'm just constantly creating because it's just so fun, and I'm putting it all there so that people can find it. And I get emails from all over the world.
And that's only half of what you do. You've started up another business as well, haven't you?
Yes, living in the private. So Fiona and I have created our sanctuary because we have discovered that our realm works on contracts. Everything's an agreement. And so what we have lived this path, and it's had huge impact on both of us with closing soul contract agreements. And it's just amazing how it can just dissolve. That's a whole nother conversation. Maybe we can come on another day and talk about it.
We'll get you back, you and Fiona.
It's amazing though, because it's all how to do it, contracting. Once again, using the creational things, speaking your intentions, your body, with the process that we've got, the 5 elements, which is we've mapped it against natural and universal law. So it's why it works. And it's a really great way. We actually, in September, we're going to do some group closures on living sovereign. So there might be people who want to do a closure on, I don't know, the tax man or the banking system or the health system, whatever. But the whole thing is stepping up in your own inner authority. We don't heal anyone. We're not therapists. We basically just hold space, because everyone's a creative being. You don't need us to do anything for you, but we can guide and we can hold space. And we can certainly teach people the path that we have just walked, which is fascinating. It's fantastic. And I don't know about you, but there's a lot of people doom and gloom around at the moment, and life is great. I have so much light, I have so much voltage, I have so much energy. And yeah, I've had days when I, feel those energy waves, but I bounce straight back up. And it's because I'm clearing away all of the distortion that I've been carrying around for lifetimes. And once you've cleared them and they're gone, it's amazing how the path just opens up for you. So that's a whole nother.
It is, but I'm going to get you.
That's my other hobby.
That's right. So if you can't get hold of it
in private, because we really want to be able to, living sovereign is important to us. So we like to walk the talk, and we're learning as we go.
So if you can't reach her, or she doesn't get back to you straight away, if you email her or contact her, it's probably because she's off doing another business somewhere. I have actually done one of the masterclasses with you and Fiona, and I found it to be very, very good. So yeah, that's something that is on my calendar of things to do. So pretty much, Teresa, though, so anyone can contact you and you'll help them out with whatever. And also you've put together just quickly a course on how to recognize propaganda to teach young people.
Yeah,
Yeah, tell us a bit about that. There's we have recognised little bits of propaganda here and there.
yeah.
Just
There's whole chapters of it in the Living Learning Guide because, in my opinion, learning is supposed to be about life. You know, it's not learning for a job, learning to be an employee. It's supposed to be just living life. You don't need four walls in a classroom in order to learn. You could be, fishing on the beach and learning from that. And anyone is a teacher. So I feel like that's really important. But with the amount of propaganda, particularly in probably the last 20 years, but the last 5 or 6 in particular, it's just gone through the roof. And I don't know about you, if anyone else has thought at some stage, what is real? What is actually real? I can't tell. And even with AI today, how do you know
you don't.
what's real, what's not real? How do you discern this? Everyone says, discern, do your own research. Well, that's great. But how do I do that when everything I'm researching is owned by the one company through shell companies? And how do I do that? So I thought for an experiment that I would work with some high schoolers, and I created a unit of work, which I did do a podcast on, and I have published the unit of work so that people can just take it and run with it. And what I did was I created a list of, I think, 100 top conspiracy theories. And everyone says conspiracy theories, and it's a trigger word today. And I don't give a rat's ass, quite frankly. If that offends you, that's your problem. That's not my problem. But the thing with conspiracy theories is that they're fun. The students, the children love it because they're going, oh, what if? What if? And of course, as we know, many of them are true, or at least based on some sort of level of truth.
Yeah.
So I got them to choose. They were age appropriate, of course. I got them to choose one that resonated with them, and then they had to try and prove that it was true.
Okay.
So how they had to do this, they had to do steps. The first thing was, what does AI say? So they had to use different AI platforms and ask AI, and then they had to look at what AI, the standard, what it's going to tell you. Then I taught them how to get around questioning AI by saying, if this was a theory, we started with Tartaria as our exemplar. And a lot of the children had never heard of Tartaria. They do now. They know all about it now. And they're starting to see it everywhere because they're seeing evidence of it now, which is so exciting because I don't like to red pill or blue pill. I like to green pill. Green pill is when you take the red pill and the blue pill and then you go and create, which is great. That's what we should be doing, green pilling. And so they had to research that. Then they had to go and just research, but they were not allowed to just use Google. They had to use Brave, DuckDuckGo. They had to use lots of different platforms to see what they could find. And interestingly, there were a lot of YouTube clips that they could not find, that were buried or didn't even exist on Google, that they found, particularly on Brave. Brave actually seemed to be the platform that had access to things that they couldn't find anywhere else. So that was a really interesting aha moment for them. Then they had to ask everybody around them, adults, children, what's your opinion? What's your opinion? And then they needed to sit down and record whatever their topic happened to be. And then the last thing they had to do after they'd gathered all of that, they had to take their shoes off, they had to go outside, sit on the ground with their back to a tree. Now, I could go into this whole thing, but trees actually change our energy. They heal our energy. They ground us. And we attach to the biofield, and they can communicate with us. Had this experience myself, and they had to sit and breathe and center, and then they had to tune into their own body and went, okay, I've got what AI says, what the research says, which is really basically opinion or paid opinion, and what everyone else says. Now, what do I think? What do I know? And then they had to tune into themselves. And whether they could prove it or not, or justify it or not, didn't matter. That was an interesting activity. The country kids really got it. They could do it quite quickly, but children that I've done this with that have grown up in cities really struggled to tune in with themselves because they kept getting in their mind and they were getting distracted. So even that was an exercise in itself, but it was fantastic. Then the last step was they had to present the information to everybody else, but they could present it in any way that they wanted to. They had absolute free choice. Because I believe in free choice. I don't like being told what to do personally, so why would I tell them what to do? So some of them created rap songs. Some of them created, oh my gosh, posters with the red strings that matched everything. You know, there's memes of them, the conspiracy theorists with the red string linking this to this and Project Paperclip and this and this. And oh my goodness gracious. And they created it and they linked everything together. I had some that made clay. I had one girl that came in with a paper mache head that looked like a pigeon, and it was this huge tall head, and her conspiracy theory was that the CIA used birds to spy on people. And so she created this paper mache head, and she came in and then she was explaining her talk with this big paper mache bird, which was hilarious. But interesting. Oh, I forgot a step. One of the other things they had to do was look at popular culture, music, movies, and art to see if they could find their conspiracy theory in any of these places. And the connections and the dots were amazing. They could see, they were teaching me so many things. I was like, oh, well, I didn't see that. So that was pretty exciting. And the way that they presented it was fantastic. And most of them chose to work in a group. And some of the children said, yes, we believe this, yes, we believe that. And then someone would go, nah, load of rubbish. I don't believe it. And that's okay, because we had discussed everyone's entitled to their opinion and perspectives, and we respect that because we are not clones. We are meant to have rich discussions and have different perspectives. Well, maybe some people are clones, but we are not clones. Yeah, it was fantastic. Sorry.
Yeah.
Alan, how did you get your hand up?
Yeah, well, I wanted to do the whole school thing, Teresa.
Pardon?
Sorry. I wanted to do the whole school thing with my hand up. But my question to you is, what percentage of them said, okay, we believe in that conspiracy? Was there like an 80% conspiracy? They said, yeah, that was true? Or what sort of?
Let me see. Quite a lot of them. One of them was there was cocaine in Coca-Cola was one. Another one was that phones are listening to you and spying on you. They could prove that. They actually ran their own experiment and they could prove that. So there were some of them that were very innocent like that. There were others that were mermaids were real. I think someone wanted to do mermaids, but they found a lot of evidence and photographic evidence in old texts and books that had the evidence there. So that I would say probably at least 85% of them could come to some sort of belief that it was true. And a lot of them found someone who had lived it. So one girl was interested in Min Min lights, and then she had met people who had seen them, shared their experiences, and she actually had their lived experiences to be able to share as evidence as well. And there were people that she knew, she trusted. And that was a really valuable experience as well. The fact that you don't need a name tag or a badge or a piece of paper from a university in order to have credentials and in order to know something. So that was also another aha moment for some of them. The fact that you don't have to always just listen to someone who is a so-called expert, because most of the experts, who trains them and who writes the textbooks? So we have these rich discussions all of the time because I want them to start questioning. And the amount of times that I've said, don't believe me, or I'm not telling you my opinion. You can ask me, I'm choosing not to tell you. Usually because I know my opinion would be quite polarizing for some of them, particularly those that might have parents in professions that would be quite opposed to any opinion that I would have. So I bite my tongue, don't say anything. And let them find out and investigate for themselves, because that's the whole point. That's life. It's living, learning. It's experiencing, and then them learning to express it and feel safe to express it. because if your nervous system is kicked in and you don't feel safe, then you're not going to express. And that's the thing. Even with releasing and healing, you will only release what you feel safe to release. It's the same thing with learning. So you need that relational field set up for the right conditions for the children to be able to explore. And I really feel it's a really rich experience.
So how many kids did that exercise with you, Teresa?
Oh, I would say probably about 80. And I also shared the idea with a few other teachers. Some of them were English teachers, some of them were history teachers. And let's just say a couple of them got red-pilled themselves. And then they started going, because they started connecting dots as well. So I would say probably around 150 students the first time, because I did it again the next year because it was so popular. They were asking, can we do it again? Can we do it again? It's like, sure, we can.
You've changed a few lives there. Like without a doubt, you've changed the course of a few lives, I'd say.
And that's why I do it, because every single man or woman, everyone that's listening to this, just one conversation has a massive ripple effect. Ripple effect. And it's fun. Like, why would you want to do something that is just regurgitating? And the whole point of learning is knowing about yourself. If you're not learning about yourself, what's the point? Because that's all that it is. You create your reality. You create everything. So if you're not in tune with yourself and have that connection, then you're going to live life through default in someone else's programming. So to live up and step up and be Surin, you need to know who you are and what you stand for, and learn how to put boundaries in, learn how to express things in a polite way. You can simply say, that's an interesting perspective. I have a different one. I disagree. Not, you're wrong. Like, So you think about the Bart Simpsons and the South Parks and all these horrific shows that these children have been exposed to over the years, and some of them are vile, the stuff that's in them, and the computer games, and I'll just kill you and it's okay, I'll just respawn, and the lack of the gift of life and the respect. We have to counteract it somehow, and stories is a really great one, because you can embed so many truths and so much in a story, and their subconscious is absorbing it all, and they're listening, and if it resonates, then they will take it on board, and if it doesn't resonate, that's okay.
And I think the other thing there, Teresa, like the ones who were talking about Tartaria, and the people that may have said, well, no, Tartaria is just a myth, whatever. Well, Russia's just released all of the Tartarian files, like all of the documents about Tartaria and what it was and where it was and how it died and everything else, and all of the things that took place there. And I read many, many, many years ago, and younger viewers won't know this book, but Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. And sometimes this is my learning, how I get things, messages. I'll read a particular book and I will not know why until I get to a line. And there'll be a line in the book and I'll read it and I'll go, okay, that's it, message received, and I'll shut the book and I'll never finish it. The one that I read in Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance was, truth is always subject to time. So 10 years ago, you were talking about Tartaria, you were a nut job. 10 years down the track, oh, hey, look, it's true. So it's always subject to time, and that's what, conspiracy theories and all these things are. So I think it's good that people can still, they know that other people don't agree with them, but that's okay. They don't need other people's agreement to have approval. You can still know what you know and sit with that and be comfortable with that.
I think that's why this unit of work was good, because I didn't tell them anything.
Yeah.
I didn't tell anyone to believe anything. I said, question it, research it, come up with your own opinion.
Yep.
Question everything, because propaganda is everywhere. And some of the conspiracy theories were absolute rubbish, just not based on anything. It was there for confusion and to divide people.
Yep.
So But some of them actually have truth in them. And so when they started seeing that and making their own mind up, and that was okay to do that, I really feel that that's what it's meant to be. We're not meant to be imposing this is our way or the highway. It's learning to feel for yourself and make your own decisions. And sure, we're going to get them wrong sometimes until we know better, until more evidence comes along. But the trick is, and I teach this to the children, I teach them, teenagers, about their energy field. I teach them about how thoughts create things and frequency and how they're attracting and the frequency match. We teach all of this sort of stuff, but we also learn about the fact that they are creating reality with their words and that they have choice and that they do not have to believe anything that they've been taught, because we have to question where is all of the information coming from and open up their eyes. Now, the thing is your RAS, reticular activating system, in your brain, as soon as you put something there, your brain, because your brain filters out hundreds of thousands of things every second, you know, the wind on your cheek, the feel of the chair that you're sitting on right now, the background noise, the dog that's barking, you might have zoned it out because it's not important to you at the moment. But the moment that it's in your field and it's in your awareness, this is why attention is a superpower. When it's in your awareness, your brain will start bringing you the evidence of what you are wanting to see. And that's why these conversations are really important, because it wants to make sense of it. Just like the pregnant woman who's never had a baby before, never noticed other pregnant women, just never even noticed it. But the moment they felt pregnant, all of a sudden they see pregnancy and baby stuff everywhere because it's important to them. So their field is there. So their RAS is kicking in. It's the same thing around people who discover galactics. All of a sudden they see galactic stuff everywhere and they're going, how can you not see this? Well, the other person's filter is filtering it out. And that's where bias comes in. Our brains can be tricked. We can be manipulated. We can be programmed. So when you have these good, honest conversations with students, and sure, some of them look at you and go, I'm not too sure about that. It's like, it's okay. You're just not ready for the information. It's fine. Not a problem. But I am shocked at how savvy a lot of these students are. They are not silly and they are connecting the dots really quickly. And if I go on playground duty, I have girls following me around and going, oh, can we talk about this now? What do you think about this? And I never answer their questions. I'll go, what do you think? And then they start answering their own questions, because it's not me to give them my opinion. It's not my place to give them my opinion at all. But they're hungry for information and they're hungry to tune into who they are and what they can do. And nature is something that is a whole part of this conversation as well. I mean, I could talk for days on this stuff. Seriously, just listen to my podcast. I rabbit on for ages.
Well, you are definitely on the right track. I feel like you are definitely on the right track. Yeah.
So what you're saying, Teresa, and I'm mindful of the fact that you've got to go, but with the kids or the young people that you're dealing with at the moment, there is hope. We're not all going to,
Yes,
lots of
they're
hope, because they are
amazing.
thinking, they're discerning, they're figuring things out, they're learning how to think, which is great. And they're learning how to disagree respectfully, which is also something that I think, you know, many of us need to figure out how, because you're right, the programming on TV has been a bit abysmal. I was listening to Shark Tank America, you know, earlier today because my dad had it on. That show typifies everything that is wrong with the world at the moment. It's horrible. And I just was like, oh, I can't listen to this. It's awful. And unfortunately, that's a lot of the TV that we see now. So the programming is very there, and it's very in your face when you start to sort of be able to identify it.
And it's not it's not that scary either when you start to look into this stuff. Hey, when that first little bit of awareness creeps in, you think, I'm not going there. It's not that bad. Once you get past the scary feeling, and it's some really interesting stuff going on over here where we are. Hey, it's a good place to be. So,
The scary feeling is your nervous system keeping you safe, because your nervous system in your body is trying to keep you safe with what you know. So when you just speak to yourself and say, it's okay to learn something new, it's okay to expand, it's okay to evolve, because we learn in increments, not shocks. You don't want to fire hose someone with information. But the thing that I've discovered with children is that if they have to have the role models around them, they have to have the adults that are willing to connect with them and have discussions. If the adult's saying the children are all the problem, and then the adults are just, licking their phone with their fingers constantly, just, seriously, you have to put the device away and be present. If you don't have presence and attention, then how can we possibly expect them to? So that's the key. Turn the phones off, go camping, get outside and kick a footy, or just have a conversation around the dinner table. And if you cannot do that because you live a busy life, at least have a conversation or tell a bedtime story. Never too old for that. You can be an 18-year-old and still have a great conversation. And in that conversation, you can embed your values, because this is the thing, is, in my opinion, over the last 20 years in particular, the values have been systematically removed from education, because I don't want to offend someone or whatever the agenda happens to be. But whatever you value, that's the time to make sure that your offspring, your children, are aware of what's important to you. And they might say something that you think, oh, I disagree with that, but at least you know where they stand, and then you can navigate that. Or then you can watch a TV show and go, wow, I wonder what I would do in that situation. What would you do? And having these sorts of conversations, rather than just mindlessly living our life through default. The connection is what they're seeking. It's what we're all seeking. And that's what's going to get us out of this mess, is being aware, being honest and authentic. People often say to me, I can't believe you said that. It's like, why? It's just me. It's my opinion. If they get offended, that's not my problem. I'm not saying something to offend them, but it's like, you can't say that. Actually, I can. I just did.
yeah, you're right.
End of story. So, and this is the thing, people don't have the courage to say it anymore. I don't say things in a nasty way. I just speak my truth.
Yeah.
And if I'm wrong, I will apologize. But this is what we need to do moving forward, is having that connection. That is the key. That's it.
Very good. You're right. Put that default position, that's the safety zone for most people, isn't it? Yeah. Sarah, have you got all Teresa's details, website things, and you'll send all that to me to put under the video? Yeah.
I will.
Very good.
Very good. Thanks, Teresa, for coming on.
Thanks for the chat. Alan, Ray, Suzanne, you guys spoke far too much.
I know.
We
can never get a word in edgeways. And then to top it off, we get Teresa here for more competition.
Sorry.
It's got to be pretty bad for Alan not to get a word in.
All right. Well, I love you all, and I will catch up with you later.
Thanks for making the time to come on.
Yeah, thanks, Teresa.
Much appreciate you coming on, and I believe you and Fiona are going to come back and join us in a week or so. Anyway, we look forward to that.
Yeah. Yep. We'll be great. Bye-bye.
Great stuff. Thanks, Teresa. Well, that was very good.
Well, indeed. And talking about turning phones off, we should touch on that before we go into the Anadox, I reckon. So who's going to do what with their phones on Monday?
Yeah, I'm going to have mine off. I'm going to have it off and not be near a group of people. So on my property, I'm not near anyone anyway, but I don't want to be near hundreds of people with all their phones going ping at the same time. Yeah. So I'll have it off and be on my own.
I told the family here, I said, we're going to package up the dogs and us and a thermos and a picnic lunch, and we're heading out to a dead spot about 45 minutes up the road, and we're going to sit there. So I might leave the phone on, but it'll be here, and we'll be out where phone signal doesn't reach. So that's fine.
Actually, it was very interesting. I heard today that a lot of the emergency services that we have around the country aren't interested in using their actual this new technology anyway. It won't work for them. So
Well,
it's another big, like, multi-million-dollar dud anyway. People are asking, well, why was it even developed if you didn't bother consulting with, like Vic Emergency app, and it won't work for them apparently.
Well, Channel 7 came out a week ago and they had on the morning show, and I just saw a little clip of it somewhere, Facebook or somewhere. And there was a girl on there, and apparently she's their resident conspiracy theorist. And she said, no, she said Queensland Fire aren't going to use it. They don't like it. They're all going to switch their phones off and they're not having a bar of it. And then Sky News, Paul Murray came out 2 nights ago and said, everyone make sure you turn your phone off. Don't turn it off for 24 hours. This is going to hurt people. It's been designed to hurt people. And I'm like, wow, okay. So I don't know what's going on, but it's almost like the elites are fighting themselves now. It's like, the warring factions, they're starting to kind of fight each other rather than just oppress us. So that's got to be a good thing, right?
Yeah, it's a bit, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'll be at work, switch my phone off.
Go for lunch, Wayne.
Yeah, I might. There's a little village down the road.
Yeah.
Ashley lives just down the road from where I work. I might go and visit him for an hour.
Yep, do that.
He's going to put his phone in a bucket full of rocks, and he's going to surround the bucket with batteries because lead keeps the signal out, and he was going to put something over the top, and I think he was going to throw a couple of bars of silver in there as well. So
maybe we should all make ourselves those aluminium hats,
Yes.
like as well, so we don't fry our brains with whatever this is.
Well, the thing is, this is really interesting too, because apparently the exact time that they're going to do the thing here is the same time that Jupiter reaches, like Jupiter, the planet, reaches the moment of peak kind of when it aligns with all these other planets that sends through or has the energy or creates the energy around the galaxy of awakening. Like it's a real thing, like the energy. And so what this phone thing that they're going to do is going to interrupt that energy. That's why they're putting it out at that time, is because they said it's just too weird that it's the exact same minute that that's all supposed to happen. So I don't know. It's all a bit odd, but
can't be good anyway. There'd be nothing good in it.
No.
True.
This is the government that's been systematically trying to kill us for decades, now coming out and saying, oh, we're concerned for your health.
Yeah.
Want to help you?
It's a bit late to be surprised about it, isn't it? So, Anadox, I guess, or we got a word of the day as well. I didn't do any research on that.
We did have it, and it was educate in honor of Teresa. And educate is, obviously we know to educate is to school, to learn, to teach, all that sort of stuff. But it comes from the Latin, because I looked up the etymology of this one. Let me just find so I don't get it wrong. Educe, which is to lead to. So basically you're trying to lead someone to a place that you clearly want them to get to. So that's what it is. And that's why, I know some people out there, they really don't like the word school or educate or anything like that. They actually prefer knowledge share, which is, I suppose, what Teresa was talking about today, is just sharing knowledge when you have it. And if you don't, shut up about it. So, or, put theory and talk about it, because that's a big part of how you get to things anyway, is you thrash out the ideas and you figure out what sounds reasonable and what sounds, totally ludicrous. And these days you go for the totally ludicrous, you're usually right. So
yeah, I've got to learn how to respectfully disagree with people. I think that might be my lesson that come out of today. I've been disrespectfully disagreeing with people apparently. So
well, it's very hard because there are so many snowflakes out there and they get so upset when you say no. that's not right. And it's really hard trying to, sometimes you just want to shake people and say, listen, look,
You
there's
do, yeah. You
so
actually
much
do.
information out there. You could go and look at this, you could go and look at this, you could go and look at this, but they don't want to do that. They just want to be spoon-fed. And you're like, and then they disagree with you. Haven't done their own research. You give them the results of the research you've done, and they go, no, I don't believe it. And you're like, fine. So it gets very hard.
It can be frustrating.
To
We
be
better get on to the
polite.
anecdotes, eh?
So, alrighty. So last week was a mammoth effort with the anecdotes. I think it
Yep.
took up massive amounts of time, but today there's only, I think, 6. So since last Saturday, international public notice. Why should we protect the ICC? The ICC being the International Criminal Court. And you'll remember from last week that the American government, so Trump's, crowd, were coming out and saying, no, the ICC is a toothless tiger and we should get rid of it and it's part of the UN and da 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 da. So the ICC was established after the Second World War to rein in corporations who were acting unlawfully and hurting people and countries. It was given the power to go after rogue corporations and shut them down. So, of course, all of the rogue corporations pretending to be government now want to shut down the ICC because they are acting illegally and unlawfully against the people in the countries that they're actually contractually supposed to protect and declaring mercenary operations against other countries who are actually run lawfully. So, generally speaking, a lot of, not all of, but quite a few countries in Africa, Iran, Palestine, countries like that, Libya, Vietnam, all of the wars in the past or the mercenary actions or civil wars, whatever, usually were in countries where they had lawful government or no central bank. And so, of course, the corporations, being mostly the UK and the US, went after those countries because they wanted to put in corporations instead. So that's why we need to protect the ICC, because it was put in place specifically to stop these guys doing exactly what they're doing now. So it's like, people wanting the police there to stop miscreants, and then the miscreants stand, and then the people turning into miscreants and then saying, oh no, we want the police gone now. So, the next one was a public notice why Trump has no sovereignty and doesn't protect ours. And then this is where we go back into English history, or British history, I should say. At the end of the first English Civil War, and apparently there were 3 parts to the Civil War, so there was, 1, 2, and 3, separated, the same as World War I and World War II were separated, but they're actually the same war, just with a gap in between. So at the end of the first English Civil War, which was known as the War of the Roses between Cromwell and Charles I, Charles was beheaded. Now, this left no one in charge of the land jurisdiction, and because Cromwell didn't know enough to put someone in charge, the same as we here in Australia didn't know enough to put someone in charge, it left the air and sea jurisdictions free to do what they liked from where they were, and the Scots, the Irish, and various other clans realised what they were doing, which is why the Irish and the Scots fought back. So remember, there was a whole lot of argy-bargy with the Brits going in and doing various horrible things to the Irish and the Scots and all the rest of it, and probably the Welsh too. We just don't hear about that as much. They knew that the English, or the Brits, I should say, were out of line and they were pushing back. But the majority of English people didn't know, and so the land jurisdiction which they lived on was vacated. That allowed for all of this birth certificate nonsense to occur, because the only way that the maritime jurisdiction could get control over men and women on the land was to traffic them out to sea, okay, via the birth certificate. So on America, when the corporations were foiled by the lawful land government, originally, they tried the same shtick again, because they went, oh, a civil war worked in England, maybe we could do it again here. And they did, and it worked. So this is why Trump has no sovereignty, because he is literally in the maritime and he doesn't understand that that doesn't give him rights over living men and women on the land. Because remember, he's not a sovereign. He is actually just as much a public servant or a citizen, the same as everyone else on the Maritime, because he's not the boss of Maritime, that would be over in England. So he is subject to them as well, and that's why he doesn't get it when he goes to court and he says, "Well, I'm sovereign." They go, "No, you're not," and he just doesn't understand, and that's why. It's because there is no land law in England. Okay, so we're going to talk about that a little bit further on. Then there's a bit of a thing about the Global Family Bank. If people have been asleep or away or under a rock or something, Global Family Bank has been shut down by the American Assembly, and the charter has been torn up. Everyone's details have been migrated to a new platform, and a new bank is being built, which will occur over the next month or two. Any emails, newsletters, etc. from Hunter, Adrian Fonzie, or anyone saying they're from Global Family Bank needs to be ignored. The banking regulators are going after Adrian and Hunter now, and we'll catch up with them in due course. Right, then there's another public notice, and this is where we talk again about the English Civil War and all the rest of it. So we're saying the let me just have a look there for a second. Global Family, no. Sorry, I'm just wondering whether I've actually left one out here. No, I haven't. Okay, so there's 3 countries in the world, or 3 corporations in the world that still use mercenaries, and they are Russia, the Brits, and the USA. So they're the only countries that have mercenaries, but Russia only use them as retaliatory means against attacks on Russia. So Russia don't go out and do war for profit. Well, they might have once, but they don't anymore. Generally, Britain, not England, Ireland, Wales, Scotland, and the Isle of Man, Britain are the cause of most of the wars that are occurring around the world, and they need to be stopped. Anna's testimony, if you don't have the links to that, there is a video that she's put out. We'll put it up in the chat today, or in the description under the video. Anna's testimony is apparently causing great alarm and consternation amongst the bar associates around the world. Now, bar associates are lawyers, solicitors, barristers, which is good because many of them were completely unaware of how corrupt their profession was and is. So that's causing a few ripples, and it goes on for about an hour. If you haven't watched it, probably get onto it because it's pretty good, and she breaks down the whole of all of the crime that's been going on. Then there's a Grana Bites, and Anna relates how she met Jim for the first time. It was an awkward meeting. She describes herself as a bit klutzy, and it was not romantic at all. But basically from that became the story of Anna and Jim and all that they have done for all of us and the world at large. So it's a nice read. And then the last one was another public notice, and we're talking about outlawing war for profit. So again, the mercenary action countries are Britain, US, and Russia. But the 2 corporations that are not Russia are continuously causing war for profit, creating wars all over the place. And what Anna has done is she has called for all of the assemblies in the United Kingdom, so in Ireland, in England, in Wales, to start taking roll calls of their state nationals, to start taking roll call votes from their state nationals, and to tally up the numbers and votes of people who no longer want the corporation running the UK to start wars for profit. So basically what she's doing is calling on all of the assemblies in the United Kingdom to give her the numbers of people who are reconveyed and who have taken a vote, and this is a show of hands vote at actual assemblies with face-to-face people, and then she will start issuing notices, I'm presuming, because she says she will, to all of the usual suspects, plus, I would imagine, the Crown. And she will start to say to them, just stop it, because most of our dramas now are coming out of the Crown Corporation, because they're instructing the US government in what to do, because the US government, as we know, is the the military arm. She's already instructed the Pope that he has to start winding up the corporations as well. So I would imagine that things are starting to happen. There are corporation CEOs and stuff being arrested. There's corporations being stood down. There's a whole lot of weird stuff happening, but it's really quietly happening, so no one's kind of aware of it. So, and that's
you're right about that.
Yeah. Yep, it's happening. It's happening really, really quietly. So
Did you research that on Google?
I didn't research that on Google. I've heard a couple of different podcasters say it, and I have seen, what was it? It wasn't Candace Owens, although she has mentioned it. It was another one. I can't remember where, but corporations are being shut down. We also know, because of what's happening in Africa, that there's different things happening in France. So the French government is really under the pump at the moment, and that's causing friction right across the IMF, or right across Europe, because of the IMF and stuff like that. But yeah, I'll do some research, but I'm pretty sure that I've heard that there's a lot of CEOs being stood down, or are retiring, or resigning. And of course, there's people dying. So,
That too.
all of those things.
Thank you, Sarah. Ray, you've been very quiet today. I know you couldn't get a word in there between Sarah and Teresa talking,
No, I'm absorbing.
You're absorbing.
Did you learn anything, mate? Did you learn anything today?
I did. It was interesting.
I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the thought that kids, young adults, can be woken up that way, like to get them thinking differently. And it came as no shock to me when she said the country kids seem to adapt better. I forget what the wording was, but the country kids go onto it a lot easier than what the city kids do. And I think that's because they're outside more doing real stuff and probably running around in bare feet, and they're not in front of the propaganda quite so much, although they would be. But I grew up in the country, and it was really, really great. You were always outside doing stuff, and always in trouble from mum for coming in after dark, and you should have been sitting at the dinner table and you were still running around in the bush out there somewhere. So I think country kids have probably got a slight advantage even today when it comes to awareness, if you like.
How good was that project they did though on conspiracy theories? How many people would that have woken up when those kids went home to their mums and dads or their aunties and uncles or whatever and said, we're doing a project and I'm researching about this and these are my findings? I mean, that would have turned so many people,
It would have horrified some.
Yeah. I think it's a great initiative. I think that was brilliant. That's one of the best things I've heard. Yeah.
I thought she was talking about a few kids. She was talking about 80 in one group, but she's done it again as well. So, great.
Can you imagine being around the dinner table with your family at night and saying, okay, mum and dad, this is what I found. Can you rebut this? This is what I found. The Twin Towers was an inside job. Can you rebut it?
That was hilarious when you brought up the Twin Towers, because I remember the day that happened. I was filling in for teachers who were sick in the day, selling insurance at night, and I came home and there were 17 Muslims in my house because my friend had invited them, my flatmate, and I was coming home late. I was the only non-Muslim as the towers hit. And I'm sitting around, and every time I've told relatives or friends, they go, weren't you scared? I said, absolutely not. I said, they spoke about the bullshit meter earlier. Because I knew what I knew. I mean, like most of the stuff we've been taught is propaganda. History is propaganda. A lot of stuff is propaganda. So I was filtering it differently, but that just goes to show you that people's fears. They couldn't imagine being in my shoes, yet I enjoyed it.
Well,
Technically, you should have been in danger.
No.
for
After
anybody
all, I
that
was in my own house.
Yeah.
for anybody that's interested in the education of the children, Teresa has the documents, like the program, for use for anyone, for homeschooling parents or homeschooling teachers or just teachers, where they can go and use that project as part of their education process for their children. I've had a good look at it. I was listening when she did that original podcast, and it's excellent. It's a great way to make not just the children think, like Alan said, it has this ripple effect.
Mm.
Yeah. Anyway, just thought I'd let everybody know it's worth having a look at her website and getting those documents off.
Yeah, I'll have a look on there. I've got a couple of friends that I'll let know about that.
And I think the other thing, going back to what Ray said, is that, history is always written by the victor. So it's always going to be rewritten the way that people writing it want it to be written. It's like the medical industry, we know that Ray certainly knows that the medical industry is just that. It's an industry. It's not about keeping people well. It's about the best way to use up chemicals and petrol that was left over from the war to make the Rothschilds richer than they already were. So, but it's got nothing to do with health. And I think that that's the thing, because people now go, oh, well, that's what the medical books say. But the medical books were all rewritten around 1940, 1945, 1950. And basically there's a whole load of garbage in those books that isn't true and isn't real. And history is the same. It's like all these people, oh no, Tartaria is just a myth. Well, Russia's just gone, well, here it all is. Here's all the history. Here's all the documents. It's the same as, what Susie was talking about a couple of weeks ago with, she talks about the archons and all this stuff that was found, what is it, in the Nag Hammadi texts, which were hidden. And that was all basically a step. It wasn't religious. It was just a how-to. This is how you deal with these entities that come in and feed on your energy. It's like dealing with a household pest. So this is how you deal with that. But that's all been hidden. We don't want to let people know that they can actually fight back and stay healthy and well. So I think we have to regard a lot of what we've learned with, I would say, jaundiced eyes. Kind of look at it and go, really?
Yeah.
And that's in every field because it's
Yeah.
there in law and order. It's certainly there in philosophy. They have corrupted philosophy, something chronic. Yeah, it's in every area, every area.
What blew me out of the water a couple of weeks ago was that I found out that Black's Law Dictionary, because a lot of people in the freedom movement revert back to Black's Law Dictionary, because it's got all those weird definitions of, this a human is a monster and all that kind of stuff. Black's Law Dictionary started out as a joke, like a literal satirical joke, because there were people who were, obviously, this was when they were still sort of gearing up with that birth certificate fraud, and they were coming out and saying all these things in court and saying, well, you're the straw man and da-da-da. And these people who were looking at it going, this is ridiculous. So they did it was like a skit, but it was on paper. Oh, we're just going to write this book. So this is what they use. It's called Black's Law Dictionary, and this means this and this means that. And these bloody lawyers went, oh, wow, that seems like a good idea. They took it and started to run with it.
We'll use that.
It was just like,
Um,
it's got no basis in anything except it was a satirical look at the madness that was happening at the time. And the lawyers went, oh, yeah, we'll take that. Thanks.
and the madness has stayed right there with it. We probably should look at wrapping this up.
Probably should.
This will become too long. We were
That's
talking
a dad joke very quickly.
Are you going to tell another joke?
May I quickly a dad joke? The dad.
Oh, we're dying to hear it.
Why can you never trust stairs?
I have no idea.
They're always up to something.
You know what?
Oh,
We were talking there earlier about, sitting around the dinner table. One of my sisters told a joke. I was a young teenager at the time, and we're sitting around the dinner table, and my sister said, "I want to tell you something here, right?" I says, "What do you want?" She said, "Why don't ants have balls?" Mum and Dad nearly choked. I didn't know whether to laugh or not.
Why don't ants?
Yeah, why don't ants have balls? And poor old Mum and Dad, they didn't know where to look or what to do. So one of us said, "Well, why don't ants have balls?" She said, "Because they can't dance." So there you go. Okay, we're out of here. I'd like to find this little red button. See us. Forget about the ants. Wasn't true.